Hello and welcome to my last game from the second group stage of the Wingspan World Cup 2025. We are against Quought. I don't know how you say his name properly, but his in-game name is Spawning. Pretty interesting starting hand here. Yellow Throat is the obvious keep, and everything else is kind of interesting. Goldfinch usually really strong. Green Magpie, pretty good first bird. Abbott's Booby feels like a must keep in this meta. Such a strong bird. Turns garbage into value. Welcome Swallow is anyone here that's not super interesting, so even if we did have Citizen Scientist or something like that, like Abbott's Booby can get rid of that problem for us, so yeah, I think we keep this Grit Magpie because that's also a plus food source. It's a plus food and a potential point scorer as well. And we get amazing bonus card in Mech Engineer, so yeah, the real struggle here is that we've got too much good stuff. So I think the game plan is going to be you play this Yellow Throat first, you take cards, and you throw one of the cards you get for some food, and then play the Common Green Magpie. I think all the other birds that we have in hand make a lot of sense to keep. I think they're all very, very strong, and I think that's one of the differences between Oceania and Baseboard, in my opinion, is that you can be a little bit more, you can be greedy in your keeps. If you've got good birds in hand, usually it's worthwhile keeping them, and I think this is even more true when you added Asia into the mix. Like, Abbott's Booby is an S tier card, right? It's so good at scoring points. The ability just to cycle away stuff that isn't working and bring in stuff that is working is so strong. And the probability of finding it is like 1 in 446, or whatever that happens to be. However many cards are left in the deck. And so if you've got it, you've kind of got to keep it and make it work. And thanks to Nectar, you can kind of make it work. So I feel good about that. Anyway, my opponent's got White Throat Dipper, so they have the card advantage, which is not great. But we still have good searching power. So another reason why keeping these strong cards is valuable is because we don't know what we're going to find, right? We know we have Abbott's Booby that will generate good value for us, so we don't have to stress so much about trying to find something big at the cost of a suboptimal food turn, which, you know, not the best, but having the right cards in hand is just so powerful in this game, so I really, really value that. But yeah, my opponent's going to have much better draw access than us. I don't want to say much better, but they will have better. And so I think because they're going to be flipping the tray so much, we can be a little bit conservative here. Like, let's just get our good birds into the game. Let's get this Magpie into the game. We still need to find ourselves an egg source. But, you know, we've got good stuff. Let's just get stuff into the game, and maybe there's a Rule 16 opportunity. The thing that we don't want to have happen is we don't want to draw 3-4 times and then be locked into a series of actions that we need to take in order to complete the round, because we've got Nectar, we're trying to meet end of round obligations, so we're trying to stay as flexible as we can. We're hoping that the Dipper turns up like 2 good options in the tray, and then we can pick one up, or maybe one of the birds that is removed was replaced with something really strong. So just trying to maximize our flexibility, because, you know, our opponent does have this really amazing bird that can, you know, we know that the Dipper can just like literally win games by itself. So we are just hoping that nothing super scary turns up, you know. But yeah, ends of rounds, we've got birds with bowl nests, so I think that's pretty straightforward for us. I think Common Green Magpie is like even better now, because you can kind of do that and do both. My opponent plays Carolina Chickadee first up, which is a little bit surprising. It's not really the bird you associate with a first column forest play. However, that might mean there's some nefarious stuff behind it. Sometimes it's okay to play this bird first if it's not going to compromise you on tempo. Like, the main drawback of the Chickadee is that you're not going to be getting extra food, and so it can be a little bit awkward to play the 3 food cost birds that are, you know, birds you want to play, like your robins and things like that. And when you get rolls like this without Nectar, it can really, really be a limiting factor. So, so far we don't have to be too concerned about anything. I think this is fine. It's not. They have left the bird feeder in a state where I don't really want to take food. Like, this Magpie, we can't really get. We can't get Nectar, and if we take food, we're probably going to give away a nectar by doing that. So I think now is a great opportunity to draw or lay eggs. I think either is fine. Okay, we are going to go for the bird feeder. It's an interesting choice. And we cache the rat. That's also an interesting choice. I think maybe keeping the rat might be a little bit more flexible here. Could you spend that on an extra egg or spend that on a tray reset or something? I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe the sequencing could be done a little bit differently here. Because now I've given my opponent the opportunity to just reset the bird feeder and grab some nectar, which could be good. And here we go, here's an opportunity. Alright. So my opponent's gone drawing and they've flipped up the Tragopan and the Great Tit. Now the Great Tit is good for them, but the Tragopan is better. The Tragopan is amazing when you have extra cards to be able to give away. You know, just being able to get eggs from the forest is just so powerful in the current state of the game. We'll see how that morphs once we get the promos and America's expansions into the game. But definitely right now, with just Asia, Tragopan, it's a big bird. Yeah, tough decision from my opponent. Which one do you take? And whatever they don't take, I have to take the other one. So here comes the advantage of being a little bit flexible. Like, there's 3 turns left in the round and we can still draw without losing any significant advantage. We just have to take 1 turn of laying eggs. And ideally we put that off as long as possible so that we can play the brown falcon at the start of round 2 and get 2 birds with bowl nests off the end of round. That's probably how we want to do things. But yeah, my opponent really thinking about this, and I don't blame them. It's a tough choice. I imagine the Great Tit helps them quite a lot. I mean, if you're playing Chickadee first up, I think, yeah, you're probably hurting for food. And it's one of the reasons why I feel like the Chickadee there was probably not the play. I think, I think if they'd drawn and they'd seen this Great Tit or the Tragopan, like, either of those would have been preferable to the Chickadee. So Wingspan's always this constant balance of, like, do you fish for better stuff or do you just commit? And be content with that as your first bird. The first bird in the game that you play in each habitat is just so impactful. It's going to get the most activations throughout the game, so you really want that power to count. And is that really a Chickadee, which is just going to get you 1 point every time you use it? Like, sure, you're going to cash like 9 or 10 on it, but is that better than the extra resource from a Great Tit or the extra eggs from the Tragopan? Like, I think that's really a difficult thing to value. So the Great Tit is there. We will take the Green Tit. If we find the Violet Green Swallow, that pairs really nicely with our Yellow Throat. This ability to just cycle and improve our cards. I mean, our cards are already pretty good, to be perfectly frank, but the ability to pick up a card from the tray without having to go into our wetlands is very strong, and is something that we should aspire to do. It should mean that we don't have to go into our wetlands very much, so maybe we take another turn of drawing, build up our reserve of kind of cards we're not super interested in playing, and then just like cycle and improve it with the Violet Green Swallow while we accumulate food. We still need to find that egg solution though, so we are looking like we've got a really strong forest habitat coming in. Like, we'll have extra food from Great Tit, we'll have card cycling, we'll have point scoring. If you can imagine that we've got like Great Tit, Violet Green Swallow, and Brown Falcon in the habitat, like that would be very strong. Oh, we're gonna go Brown Falcon in the grasslands. I don't hate that. Not what I was expecting, but I don't hate that. We don't have to spend a card or a resource on getting the extra egg, and we can just kind of get a point. I don't hate it. We still need an egg solution. This is, let's be real, this is not an egg solution for the grasslands. It's just, it is a bird that has eggs. The other really good thing about this Violet Green Swallow is that our opponent's going to be giving us terrible cards with the Tragopan eventually, and the Swallow will be able to cycle those and turn them into useful birds, so that's really quite valuable to us. My opponent goes Kingfisher, which means they're not going to meet the end of round, and certainly they're not going to be able to beat us, so we will take our points. They are building up a lot of cavity nests, which is interesting. We just have to be slightly mindful of the potential goldeneye or pileated woodpecker. If they had a pileated woodpecker right now, that would be in a we wouldn't be in a lot of trouble, but we'd be in a small bind. We just have to play our Violet Green Swallow as fast as possible. But that's okay. Yeah, thinking ahead to this game, I think we definitely want to get this Violet Green Swallow in, and I'm less interested in the Great Tit right this second. Great Crested Creep and Ruff come up in the tray. I think my opponent should take the Ruff. Red Crested Grebe, very strong bird, but I think its value dramatically diminishes past round 1. Like, arguably one of the strongest birds in the game in round 1, but in round 2, I think you're getting 2 or 3 draws out of it. It's not really worth the slot. It's just the way this game works. Like, you can't spend too long accumulating cards and resources. It just doesn't work that way. Like, you draw it, you play it, you hope you get one use out of it. But at least neither of us really need it right now. We both have excellent card access, so that's not really the determining factor here. Trumpeter Finch could be fun. Do rough Trumpeter Finch, and yeah, okay, they flipped the tray. I didn't actually see if they took anything from that, but I imagine they took rough. Willy Wagtails come up, that's always a fun bird, great to pair with a Violet Green Swallow or something like that. One of my personal favorites, even though it's a bit chaotic. I really like the bird, it's fun. And Galenial for kind of decent points, but you know, the only bird there that I'm like, oh my god, I must have it is the Willy Wagtail, but I imagine that's going to be the keep from my opponent. I'd be very surprised if it isn't. And besides, we've got things to be doing. We want to get this Violet Green Swallow into the game, we want to get the Great Tit into the game, and just kind of get moving. My opponent already has good stuff as well, like they've got this Tragopan. So in theory, maybe they're just stalling out me taking food from the bird feeder. Because if they can get the right food, well, it's a little bit difficult to get the right food with what they've got, because they only have 2 food generation from the chickadee. They got 2 worms. Alright, so they're fine. They can get the Tragopan into the game. But yeah, we're gonna go eggs again. I think this is a pragmatic decision. Like, the feeder is bad. My opponent can only take 2 food at a time, and I know they've got the Tragopan, which is a seed fruit cost, and that's definitely the bird they want to play. Taking food now is really bad for them, actually. Because, again, they're limited. They're gonna have to spend, spend 3 food to get this Tragopan into the game. Which they could do, and if they do, that's completely fine. But we have to lay eggs at some point anyway. We don't have an egg source, so why not just push that decision out a little bit? And they play the Junko, which is a little bit interesting. That will solve their food access problems, so we can still stall things out and wait to see if the feeder is going to improve. I'm quite content to do that. We don't mind seeing some extra cards here. There's still time in the game to do a little bit of digging. California Condor might be interesting. Towie is definitely not interesting. Titmouse could be fun, just to get extra birds into the game. The last end of round is total birds. So maybe the Titmouse or the Savannah Sparrow is kind of interesting. We will take the Titmouse. I think our big priority at the moment is to get this forest online as fast as possible. Not sure that this Titmouse is necessarily correct, because I think we do want to get as many brown powers into this forest as possible, but we are spending a lot of time getting this set up, so it might be prudent to keep the bird that can play an extra bird and just speed things up so that we can get to this fourth column, as fast as possible. That's why I was thinking maybe the Savannah Sparrows might be better, because it kind of achieves the same thing, but I'm going to trust that I've done the calculation here and believe that I can't get to the 4th column without it, but we'll see how it goes. Red Crown Crane has come up. I think this bird is terrible. It is straight garbage, guys. It's not good. I think everyone's like, oh wow, I cashed so many points and I get a new bonus card. It's like, yes, that is true. However, it's really, you're scoring the potential future bonus card. That is the incremental value of the Red Crown Crane. The points you've cashed on the crane are the bonus points you already had. You're just shifting them around a little bit. The only time where this bird is like really amazing is when you cash a bunch of rats and then pull Pallet the Sector, which is pre-maxed because of the Red Crown Crane. I've done that exactly once. It was a good feeling. Otherwise, this bird is like incredibly situational. Like maybe you're using it because it hits Omni or it meets a wetland data analyst or something like that. But just in general, this Red Crown Crane is just like not very strong. In contrast to the Busted, which is literally busted. So yeah, my opponent taking another think here, and I think that's fair. I have done everything I can to kind of keep this feeder as awkward as possible for them. So if they want to have an optimal turn, they're going to have to throw a card to do that. And potentially they'll throw 2 cards because they need to get the seed off the Junko. Yeah, I think we'll playing really defensively at the moment, which is kind of biding our time, making sure that we are doing the things that we need to be doing before committing to a game plan. I think the moment we... I think we have... Like, regardless of what happens, I think we have to take food next. Ow. I just donked into my microphone and hurt my ears. Love that. I don't know if that came through. Yeah, I don't know what my opponent is... I don't know how my opponent's thinking about the situation, but I have to imagine that this feeder being so unbelievably awkward is really not helpful to them, and maybe that's why they played the Junko. I think if I was in their position, I probably would have just slammed this Tragapan. I think that's the piece you really need to get moving. Oh, they've gone for a draw, and they've flipped up the Spoonbill. Well, that's nice for them. Nice for some. But I think at this point, there is no time to be wasting. I think we must get into the... let's get into the game. What are we actually going to play California Condor? Are we really doing this? I mean... I dislike this play. We pulled Falconer, that's nice. Falconer is good for us, I think. We got a couple of Falconer birds. Plus we've got Abbott's Booby. Actually, yeah, I like the Condor now. The Condor is good to give us that extra bonus card so that we can cycle it away with Booby later on. And we're still leaving this feeder very, very, very stuck while passively improving our position. I do think the Condor is an improvement. Though I do think it's a pretty marginal improvement. Probably its best value is providing this ground nest, which we will eventually need for Mechanical Engineer, because we do not have any more ground nest, but you have to believe that with Violet Green Swallow we can cycle some cards and bring in another ground nest or a star nest or something. They've finally gained food and we immediately jump on the feeder. So, brilliant, yeah. So we really were very, very, very patient about that. Really tried to maximize the advantage we could get from this stuck feeder. And our reward is being able to play this Great Tit immediately. So we can do Great Tit, food, Violet Green Swallow. And then we're in a decent shape going into round 3. Alternatively, we could just do a Violet Green Swallow and then Great Tit. That might even be better. Because I don't think the extra food changes anything for us, whereas the extra card could be pretty significant. Yeah, I agree with this. So the Ruff comes in, so that makes sense. They did pick up the Ruff. The Ruff is a very, very good bird. Though they do have to spend a lot of cards. They did have to spend a lot of cards in that previous forest action. So maybe that's made some of these Ruff choices a bit more tricky. So yeah, things to be mindful of. But you know, we can't stop the Ruff. Once our opponent has it, it's on them to maximize the utility out of that. So we know their card access is really good. We have good card access as well, so I wouldn't say that they have better card access. Well, they do, but like I wouldn't say it's enough to be game defining. We still need to have the power birds, and we've got a couple of good birds in hand still. Abbott's Booby, which we've already talked about. We also picked up the Noddy a little while ago. Nice big point bird to play in the wetlands. Gould's Finch to kind of hedge our bets on a play another bird later on. Like we got options. And we will see more options as this Violet Green Swallow finds us more birds. So on this next reroll, we want to find nectar and a worm. Maybe even 2 nectars, that would be nice. We can get this Great Tit into the game and we can go from there. When it's laid eggs, oh, we got 3 nectars. Oh, that's unfortunate. We do have to decide here if we want to throw a card and try for the cash or gain on the magpie. It is a non-trivial decision because our cards are pretty valuable to us. But yeah, okay, we did not elect to do it, which I think is correct. I think every card we have is potentially a new playable bird. We just need to cycle it and improve it. I think this Prinia is pretty interesting simply because it is a star nest and we are 1 ground nest short of Mechanical Engineer. And this fits the description rather than going for a gamble. I don't hate the play. Purple Martins come up. Way less interesting than this Green Swallow. On baseboards, this thing's a monster. I think in Asia, it's just okay. This white-throated kingfisher actually hits twice. They've only laid eggs twice, and it's gotten 3 caches each time. That is the definition of an overperformance. So well done. I hope you stop doing that. It's supposed to cache 2, so it's getting 3 is very nice. Good for my opponent, bad for me. Alright, now we've got this great tip in the game. I think we've got a really strong foundation here. I think, you know, we're generating 3 food, 2 points in our forest. Our egg situation is not fantastic, but not terrible. Because we don't need to go to column 4 for the forest to get that extra food. There's no real urgency to get the next bird into the forest just yet. We are happy with what we have. But I do see some really strong birds in the tray. Like the starling and the horned owl are both really excellent for us. I think my opponent would deny those, and we just pulled the white throat. That solves our game plan. I think that is exactly what we wanted to see, and I think now we have a very, very strong hand. Now our job is very simple. We take food, play white throat, lay eggs. Maybe we take food again before laying eggs, I'm not sure. Play the horned owl, take food, get the starling into the game if we can. And now we've got a real opportunity to win, I think. I don't think that could have gone much better, honestly. We solved all of our problems. We found a point-scoring avenue in the starling, so now the great tit isn't just a food generation bird, but a point-scoring bird. So every time we get an extra food, that directly becomes a point on the starling, which is huge. It also gives us nectar control over a habitat, so we just pick the habitat that they're going to be strong in and try and win it. We got this horned owl, which is, you know, to play a brown power in the 4th column, you want it to be a big point bird, and the horned owl is brilliant for it. It's a big point bird, we're already scoring well with it, plus it's got a high probability of activating, so we are really in an excellent position here. I think we could even consider start throwing cards, so I think like this egret could go, and yeah, I don't know, we don't have to throw cards. We're not in the position where we need to. We just need to make sure we hit a nectar. Well, we didn't hit nectar. Okay. Well, that's okay. We can still overpay for the white throat, and that's still fine. Or we can just take food again, honestly. Yeah, I think this egret is the bird to go, even though we have falconer. We found wood duck. Okay, jeez. We'll cache the rat. Oh, we'll take the rat. Yeah, I think at this point it doesn't really matter. Extra food becomes points by the starling anyway. I think the wood duck is a trap here. I think wood duck's traditionally really, really strong, but I don't think we need it. I think the horned owl... Look, let's recontextualize, right? We're in the... By the time the wood duck gets in the game, there's going to be like 7 or 8 turns left, at best. It's just not going to return the value that it needs. We already can pick up a card via this violet green swallow, so... I think, unfortunately, wood duck, not the game for you. But you would have been nice about, 10 turns ago. But that's okay. We can always cycle it away with the green swallow, which is good. It's really just showcasing the utility of this green swallow and how it's relieved so much pressure from us to do anything. Swainson's Hawk could be fun. Might as well, or we could go for that. It's a 7-point bird with falconer, so not terrible. Yeah, we're doing it all right. I think. Yeah, we have a oh, they actually picked up the grebe. That's interesting. I just went on a rant about that a while ago. And just to remind people, this is the first time I'm seeing this game in like 3 months. I do not remember what the hell happened in it. So I had absolutely no idea that they were going to pick up the grebe, but it's probably going to illustrate my point, where while it's very strong, they're not going to get the utility out of it that they're probably hoping to see. They've drawn some birds again, which is fine, but at this point in the game, it's not a point-scoring action. Yeah, we can throw the wood duck. It doesn't really matter. We've got enough cards, I think. The fact that they haven't played this Tragopan is really perplexing me as well. Tragopan is such a powerful bird. But I guess they didn't want to give points away to my green swallow, which is fair enough. I think we still need the Prinier to qualify Mech Engineer, so I think Stalk-billed Kingfisher's next off the block to go. Starling's gonna go, okay. I'm surprised by that. Maybe I'm just thinking to myself that I'm not going to be able to have enough excess food to justify that, which could be true. In fact, I would only be able to get 8 points off it, because there's no way I can play it this round with the food that I've got, so... yeah, maybe that makes sense. Anyway, we must play this white throat. I think we only spend 1 nectar here. Do worm, nectar, eggs, then horned owl. That's probably the play. And once we've done that, we are very happy people. This end of round is eggs and grasslands, by the way. Not really a factor for us at the moment. We will do 1 lay egg. We will end up with 2 eggs in our grasslands. We will qualify for it. Oh, we spent 2 nectar. Interesting. Interesting. The Tragapan is finally into the game. I thought that was going to come a lot earlier. Well, actually, if we do lay eggs anywhere else, we could use the white throat on the grasslands to get 3 eggs. So maybe that's the thought process. I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking of playing this horned owl. That would seem like a mistake to me personally, but I could just play Gould's Finch, I suppose. I think this horned owl is so good though. Like, well, very hard to overlook it. This is why I kind of don't like getting rid of that starling. I think Stalk-billed Kingfisher is probably it. That's also worth 8 points, but 2 food. I think that's still probably the one to get rid of. Like, we are going to play Abbott's Booby, and we will hope that we can cycle some stuff away. So, yeah. Anyway. We do have to think very carefully about how we're going to play out the rest of our turns. It's not entirely trivial. We can only realistically play another 3 birds. So we have to start thinking very critically about which birds we want to keep and which ones we don't want to keep. I think the horned owl must be played. The Prinia probably has to be played. Maybe Abbott's Booby has to be played. Maybe those are the 3 birds that we're playing. Or we could play Gould's Finch. Yeah, Gould's Finch allows us to play the Prinia after the game, which is good. So yeah, actually maybe the Starling Thrower is actually really smart. I think there are too many birds that we want to play and not enough time to do it. Yeah, I think that might be the case. My opponent's taking a while here. We will just speed things up a little bit. All right. Now we will lay eggs. My opponent got food, and they gave us a loggerhead strike, which isn't very helpful for us. And we indeed do our lay eggs action. It looks like we threw a food and a card for that, which makes sense. But yeah, we have too many cards. We can't play all these cards, so we have plenty of options to just cycle stuff away, and it's not too big of a deal. My opponent's only got 1 egg at the moment, and they've just played Tragapan. And it's possible that they do play a bird and then lay eggs for the end of round, but yeah. They've gone with Swainson's Hawk, okay. So we're losing the end of round, so who cares? And we will indeed play this horned owl. Yeah, maybe I was thinking I'm only going to play 2 nectar, so I might as well put 2 nectar into the grasslands if I can. The only other bird we might play is the Prinia. Yeah, we have decisions to make. I think you want to do Abbott's Booby with the Gould's Finch. I think that's probably the best way to sequence this. So yeah, we gotta think it. So yeah, we want to get Noddy into the game. Although the Stalk-billed King is it Stalk-billed Kingfisher? The 6-point Predator bird, that one. That's 1 point less than Noddy with Falconer, so it's not terrible. And it's 1 food less, which might be critical. Yeah. We'll speed this along a little bit. Surely my opponent is doing eggs here. Jeez, they're taking a while. Damn. Big think. Alright. Alright, we'll lay our eggs with the white throat, and then they'll do their tucks, and they indeed did do eggs into their grasslands, but they only laid 2, which is interesting. I think their setup's like really constrained on eggs. Sorry, constrained on cards, which is kind of funny. But they want to be maximizing this rough, but they've also got like Tragapan that gives away a card, Junko that tucks a card, they want to be throwing a card for extra food, and they want to be using the rough. So even though they've got this Grebe and this Dipper, like there's a lot of pressure being placed on those birds. So they played Bobolink, that solves any egg problems they might have had. We'll throw a bird there, and we can start cycling some of these birds that we're not going to play away, and that's totally fine. So with 5 nectar and 1 fish, I think we're thinking Gouldsfinch, Prinia, and Noddy all coming into the game. And then 1 final take food action, take those 2 fish, and be happy with life. I wonder if there's an argument for Gouldsfinch into the forest here, just to give the white throat an extra egg, but I think overall that doesn't change anything. It just gives us an extra food, which may or may not be useful, but we'll see. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter. I think we have more than enough food to do everything with that really strong draw. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we just take food here, take the 2 fish, and maybe even get another nectar and see how much nectar we can flood into this game. Could be a strategy. Yeah, I think right now our game plan's pretty clear, so we will speed things along while our opponent puzzles through what they're doing. So they drew birds, and we're going to take our 2 fish and probably hope for a nectar. Singular nectar, that's exactly what we want. Horndale doing its job. We'll take the nectar, cycle this guy, maybe we can find something better. We do not, and we'll just take our cash. Alright, and now I think the game plan is very, very straightforward. You just play the birds. Play the birds in the right order. I think that's our game plan, basically. There's not too much to add. It comes to a point in a game of Wingspan where you just don't have any more options. There is a path to the finish line, and that is the path to the finish line. The only decision we have to make is where does this Gouldsfinch go? And I think it could be grasslands, actually. We could do Prinia and Gouldsfinch and grasslands to kind of sway the nectar there. And then we can use the white throat on the grasslands to get 5 eggs. That could be smart. That might be the best way to do things. Our opponents... Yeah, I wonder what our opponent's thinking. Got a tough decision to make ahead of them. They've got to decide where they're spending their nectar, given that I've got a lot of nectar. Like, you can expect that I'm going to play 3 birds here, so it's pretty tricky for them. Flycatcher, not interested in you today. So Noddy's going to come into the game. I think we're always playing this Noddy, and we're always playing 3 nectar with it. This is a decision. It's not really a decision. We can back out of it at any time. But taking an egg off the Brown Falcon does declare to me that we are going to do Prinia Gouldsfinch into the grasslands. Alright, we're not. Cool. I actually have 1 too many nectar. I just realized. I miscounted somewhere. If we do Prinia Gouldsfinch, it's only 3 nectar. So that's a little bit awkward, but it's not the end of the world. Makes us look a little bit more intimidating. Like, it's like you're bluffing, right? You've got so many nectar. I'm going to win all the habitats. Realistically, I can only spend 3 of them. But that's okay. And yeah, I think it's smart to hold back the... I think it's smart to do the noddy first in the sequence anyway. We're always playing the noddy, we're always using 3 nectar for it. Our opponent doesn't... Our 2 other birds are flexible, like the goldfinch can be played anywhere, Prinia can be played in grasslands or wetlands where the nectar is competitive, and so we can kind of react to wherever it goes. The downside is that if we do end up playing the Prinia into the wetlands, we'll lose 1 egg off of the whitethroat, potentially. So that's the only downside. But if we are going to do that, then maybe we do Goldfinch Forest to get that egg back. So it's just a bit of a trade-off. We ideally want to see what our opponent's going to commit to before playing our 2 multi-habitat birds. So again, playing the noddy just simplifies the thing for us. We don't have to commit to anything too early, and allows us to play reactionary. Like, we should be able to win all 3 nectars. Our opponent's only got 2 nectar. We've got 4 nectar, of which 3 is playable, and we are winning or tying in all habitats. So no matter where they spend it, we should be able to win. Ideally, they just slap it into the grasslands, and then we can just play our 2 birds in grasslands, and we're just happy people. But we'll speed through their decision, because they have hard decisions, we don't really. They played Spoonbill, makes sense. They've gone for the wetlands, and they've got 1 nectar remaining that could go into the grasslands. I think we do Prinia, and then Goldfinch wetlands could be the play. I think that makes the most sense to me. Take off the brown falcon to hedge our bet. It's 4 eggs either way, so it's fine. And then we just have to make a decision about where Goldfinch is going to go. I don't know if I like the Prinia here. Maybe Prinia into wetlands was better. Yeah, I'm really guarding against the possibility of them spending that nectar in the grasslands, and with a lay eggs action, because now they can't equal. They'll still lose if they spend it. And if they do spend the 1 nectar on something, well, that's fine too. And yeah, if we did Goldfinch into the grasslands, then that would have been a plausible tie. So that's okay. Let's see what our opponent is going to do. They played Osprey into the wetlands, so we can play Goldfinch into the wetlands to tie the nectar. It's probably worth doing that. It's a 3-point swing versus a 1 point off of the extra egg with the whitethroat, so I think it's completely fine to do this. But yeah, maybe we should have done Prinia into the wetlands for that reason, but oh well. That's okay. These nectar battles are always difficult, and we are going to get significant points off of that. We will play the booby with our Goldfinch, and what are we going to find? Ethologist and food web expert, so goodbye Falconer. Goodbye Pop Monitor. We've upgraded. We got a net 8 points from that booby, so it might have only been played right at the end of the game, but certainly did a good job for us, and that's why you keep these very, very powerful birds. Bird points. It's pretty close. Bonus points, we take a bit of a lead thanks to the late booby. End of round goals, very even. Eggs should be very close. Food on cards, we should be... Oh, they have quite a lot. Tuck cards, we knew they had a lot. But we dominated the nectars, and that was ultimately the story of the game. So there it is, 114 to 105, and that is our last group stage game. What do they have? Their Wetland Data Analyst for 5. Oh, that's very powerful with Osprey. That's very nice. And Site Selection Expert. Also another pretty good bird. So I think that was a very fun game. I think that was very well fought by Quought. I think they're obviously a good player. They did very well to get to 105 with what they had, but yeah, ultimately we came away with the victory. We probably could have played that a tiny bit better towards the end, but I don't think there's any glaring mistakes in what we did. I think the scores on both sides are a little bit depressed from what they probably should have been, because we played that game of chicken around the bird feeder at the start of round 2, and I think that was really the defining thing of this game, where I didn't want to take food, they didn't want to take food, and so we were just kind of like playing chicken with it, and eventually they gave in and allowed us to grab a bunch of nectar, which ultimately was one of the key deciding factors in this game, right? Being able to get so many points off of Nectar. So that's definitely the point I'm taking away from this game, is that, you know, doing productive actions while waiting for our opponent to do something suboptimal so we can take advantage of it seemed really, really strong. So that was the last game. We did improve to 6-3, and the group stage did indeed end after this, and here are the standings. Bang. Look at that. Thanks to those two massive 40-point swings, we had two games where we had 40-point difference games. We accumulated a massive points difference and actually ended up in first place in the group, which is really nice. As you can see, this was a really competitive group, as you'd expect for Wingspan World Cup at this stage of everything. Very, very, very close game, very, very close group. Commiserations to Quought, who had 5 wins and missed out, and that's why I was saying all along, you want to get 6 wins to get out of this group. But yeah, me, Quought, who we just played, Simon, and List all advanced into the next group stage. Not the next group, the playoff bracket. So this makes us top 32 in the world. Well, top 32 in the Wingspan World Cup, I should be more precise. And so the journey continues, and we got a couple games coming up. I will tease that the next opponent is the one, the only Geese the Beast. Very, very famous player if you're a fan of Blan's content. So yeah, thank you for joining us so far, and yeah, hopefully we can keep this run going and see how deep we can go.